Imagine having an AI-powered search engine for candidate profiles from across the open web and even from within your own ATS. Well, that's exactly what HireTool is. HireTool is a global talent platform that serves all recruiters, from small businesses to the world's largest enterprises. And with 750 million plus profiles from over 45 open web sources and channels and 30 plus integration partners, there's literally something for everyone. Recruiters can find more talent with AI sourcing, send unlimited emails, and integrate with your favorite recruitment tools all in one platform. If you're spending hours looking for qualified candidates, underrepresented talent, and updated contact information, then HireTool is probably what you need for your toolkit. HireTool is a platform that helps great recruiters accomplish more every single day. Check them out at hiretool.com.
Hey, what's up, everybody? HR Famous. We're back in the house. All three. Like, not co-hosts. What, Jessica, what is that? If there's three hosts.
It's tri-host.
Is it a... Go ahead, Tim. I asked Jessica, but you go.
Tri-host.
Tri-hosts?
Try harder.
Okay. Try harder.
By the way, when there's four people, I was in a meeting recently.
Quad.
I was like, we should get the not the trio. I was like, what is it? The quattro? And these people looked at me like I was an idiot. They were like, quattro, are you speaking Spanish? I was like, what is it? They were like, it's a quartet. I was like, well, sorry. Like, I just went duo, trio, quattro. And they thought I was the dumbest person in the room because apparently I didn't know it was quartet.
We're off to a roaring start here on HR Famous. This
the
is
trio.
the way we do
the
it.
Trio is back.
The trio is back. Triumvirate? Is that right? Right? We can go that way? I don't know. Okay. It's HR Famous.
We're completely lost. Okay.
The voices you hear.
Like, can we scratch it backwards on the album and just start over?
I'm Chris Dunn, your host with, if not the most, then something that rises above the threshold to keep you listening. She's Jessica Lee. He's Tim Sackett. So we've already done some small talk, but I'm going to keep the small talk going as I look at my tri-hosts in the video right now, which the listeners can't see. I see like a lot of almost Friday like gear, although it is Friday. And Tim Sackett is wearing a Michigan State Spartan hoodie. And I've got to say, Jessica, I don't know if you caught this or not. We haven't like prepped on this, but Tim, correct me if I'm wrong. Attorney General of Michigan is a Michigan grad, not a Michigan State grad. She goes, Jessica, to the Michigan State-Michigan game in East Lansing, home of the Spartans. And Jessica, she gets absolutely sloshed to the point where she's asleep, like with her hat like pulled over her head in the stands.
The game. Yeah.
And she had to apologize. So she put out this note. And Tim, I'll go to you first.
Why did she
just
have
to
to
react
apologize?
Because people, I guess her staff, she actually said her staff was saying that she needed like a PR firm to come in and help her like with everything that was going on. The pictures are hilarious. I mean, she was absolutely sloshed. And my favorite part of it, Tim Sackett, is in her apology letter, she said that there was more alcohol than food. She was surprised that there was more alcohol than food at the Michigan State tailgate. Defend yourself, Tim Sackett. I've been to a Michigan State tailgate this year on the road, and I would categorize it as somewhat aggressive. Go ahead. Go.
No, I don't think there's any defense to have that needs to be taking place. She's a U of M, lightweight. No, the problem, like, I think her staff said, hey, you need a crisis management PR firm because she, being the Attorney General of Michigan, being from U of M, being left-leaning, not even left-leaning, she's like a lib, but she goes hard in the news against a lot of things. And then she shows up and needs a wheelchair to get from the stadium back to her car. That's how drunk she is. She needs a wheelchair.
The wheelchair was real.
Yeah.
Like, they actually took her in a wheelchair.
Yeah. So she was that drunk. And she claims that she had 2 Bloody Marys because there's so many vegetables. It's kind of like eating a salad. So if you had 2 Bloody Marys, that means that's 2 shots of vodka. So right now we know she's lying. There's no possible way, except in my tailgate group that KD knows, they were sending pictures around of Bloody Marys that were the size of buckets, saying these were the 2 Bloody Marys she had.
Jessica, any observations on the Michigan State shenanigans? You've got some Michigan State people on your team.
Maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure actually, but I just really like her rebuttal or her apology that she issued. I think that, I don't know if she hired a PR firm, if she penned it herself, but someone who can, not take themselves so seriously and, also be honest about it. I like it.
I thought the apology was pretty good. Are you reading it now, Jessica, as we speak?
Yeah.
So I thought the written apology is pretty good. I thought it was personable, right? And she made fun of herself a little bit. I thought it was actually pretty good. Tim, what do you think as a Sparty fan?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, the Sparties have no problem with people getting completely hammered at a tailgate. Like, that's just normal. Like, you have to understand, too, when Michigan and Michigan State play, like the state, like Michigan Stadium is huge. It seats like over 100,000. Michigan State Stadium seats like 75. But there's the police, like the area, like they claim that there's probably anywhere from 150 to 250,000 people on campus tailgating, and like the vast majority of those won't even go to the game. So it's like, I mean, they call Florida Georgia the world's largest cocktail party when that game plays. I would say this has to be the biggest cocktail party in the North because it's a big one.
Yeah, it's good. So Jessica, when I went to a Michigan State road game, I met characters with the names of Big Mike, for example. I also identified. So there's like 14 people in this traveling party that I was fortunate enough to be a part of, all Spartan fans. And I actually identified somebody coming down the ramp at Hard Rock Stadium as an incredibly inebriated member of said party. He was alone. I don't know how he would have found his way back.
Muscle memory.
So we were walking out of Hard Rock, and Tim tried to like get to him and kind of like guide him and be personable and like be a human being. And Tim actually had to veer off of him because he was worried about like him taking him down. He had to get on the other side of like these concrete barriers.
Pretty sure he was going to throw up, and I didn't want to be in the splash zone.
Gross.
And I was like, he's not riding home with us, Tim. Can't.
Yeah. That's a story. Yeah.
All right.
Not a splash zone, though, as your AG referenced in her apology, Tim. Apparently, it's called a Roman shower when you vomit in that situation. So I just love that. I mean, that's new terminology. I just learned it. Well,
I saw the wheelchair reference. I did not know the wheelchair was real because that is like extra.
Oh yeah,
like it's one thing to be sloshed with the hat pulled down, kind of asleep in the stadium. It's a whole nother level that you actually do get the wheelchair.
By the way, like again, I'll go back to like, so you tailgate hours before the game. The game itself lasts 3 hours. There's no possible way you drink 2 Bloody Marys with that's a shot of vodka each, 2 shots, and you're that hammered. There's no possible way. Like
because no one just pours one shot into a beverage.
Exactly.
I mean, it would have been a double for me, and then there's vegetables in it, so it'll soak it up. So it's probably about 5 or 6 shots in those 2 shots.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, she's a lightweight though for just that. Like, come on, lady.
She's a small woman. Yeah.
So am I. Come on.
Yep.
Yeah, and I would be absolutely hammered. Like with that amount, like given the little that I drink, I would be out ski in a big way. All right, HR Famous. We are talking today. We're going to like dedicate this one to Elon Musk, founder and CEO, SpaceX, Tesla, et cetera, et cetera. So I got a couple things. I think this is under the guise of we've all worked for a variety of leaders. And I think probably all of us in our careers have worked. Certainly, we've got somebody that leans towards the maverick scale. I mean, leaders come in all shapes and sizes and mentalities. But Elon Musk is one of those rare people as a founder that is dramatically independent. And I kind of want to get reactions from my team here at HR Famous about a couple of things that have happened recently and just get your HR like takes on these. First one came out probably about a month and a half ago, maybe a month ago, but and it really like goes along the cusp of Jessica and Tim. At one point, probably 2 months ago, Elon Musk announced that he was moving Tesla headquarters from California to Texas. So I think they're going to Austin. Like it seems 1 in 4 California people are. Like that's where all the California people go. They go to Austin. They don't go to Texas in general. Yeah. And there was a headline that came out maybe a month after that then I'm reading this to you from the Daily Mail in the UK. Elon Musk's Tesla leadership team was, quote, blindsided by move from California to Texas and only found out when he made the public announcement. So the kind of the headlines or the bullet points go that Elon Musk's leadership team did not know about this until it was actually announced. So Governor Newsom in California's main economic advisor, D.D. Williams, revealed this. Williams said, quote, Elon didn't even tell his team. We later talked to the leadership in his offices in California who did not know until he made that announcement. The governor's premier advisor added. And the revelation, like I mentioned, comes mere weeks after Musk first announced the prospective move to attendees of the company's annual shareholder meeting on October 7th. So, Tim, I'll go to you first. You know, Elon knew what he wanted to do, and he didn't even talk to his leadership team about that. Let's assume that's true. Kind of feels like it is. Like, what's your reaction to this both from a leadership perspective and then also from the standpoint of HR supporting a variety of leaders, which includes Elon somewhere on the spectrum?
Well, I think all of us have been around conversations around moving headquarters, even if it's just down the road. In fact, Jessica, you guys are moving into a new headquarters, right? For Marriott?
Wait. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and even like a small move of a few miles can cause somebody like a lot of heartache because of whatever, right? Like it could really create way different, commute zones or whatever. I can't believe in a modern world that he would do it. But then this is how like kind of crazy this dude is, right? Like it just shows that, this is my company. I'm going to do what I want. And, we could probably try to figure out like why, but we all kind of know, right, that from the tax standpoint, like he's been pretty vocal about that. But I just think it's insane that you would go and say and announce publicly, not only just for your leadership team, but like all of those people who are working for him in Silicon Valley going, wait a minute, so now do we have to move? And then you're going to have people jump ship right away. Like it causes mass chaos. And he doesn't care. Like he just is like, whatever.
But do you guys believe that like he really didn't talk to people and he just was like, guess what, guys, we're moving? I guess when I read into this, I just don't believe it. Like I think we all love to hate on Elon, and look, I'm not his biggest fan either, although we like his product. But I don't know. Like I think
we're going to get to that later, Jessica.
Yeah, yes. But I think he's like the new boogeyman. Maybe not the new. He's like the boogeyman now. Everyone wants to hate on him, and so I don't know if I believe all the media hype where they're saying he just sprung it on everyone. No one knew about it. He didn't talk to anyone. I don't believe it.
Well, he is on the spectrum, right? Do we know that for sure?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I mean, some of that could be just his the way he is and the way he's wired is that he just doesn't even think about it. That people are going to care because he doesn't realize. Like, I don't know. I think he's pretty high functioning though. Obviously.
Hey, I want to go back to Jessica's like statement that he's the new boogeyman. Is it what I would tell you is I think there's a lot of cheerleaders for Elon as well, both with the products and just with him being a maverick. So I think he's the boogeyman for a certain cross section of society, right? So you look at the Daily Mail article that I just quoted from, and this was actually broke by like one of the economic advisors for Governor Newsom's administration, right? So it's meant to embarrass him. I think my guess is his leadership team, even if they didn't know before he said it, they've dealt with Elon enough, right, Jessica? They've dealt with Elon enough where they're like, well, of course he just announced that without talking to us. That makes like total sense.
Well, so they're not going to be surprised by it,
right?
Or they would have seen something like this coming. Like his SpaceX, right, is based out of Texas, and they're launching all sorts of stuff into space from Texas. They have a plant that they've started establishing there. I mean, if everyone was 100% black, I think he bought a house there, right? Like, it's not as if it was like completely out of the blue. And, again, I'm not his biggest fan. I do think he's the boogeyman. Like, I read troubling things about him that I think are, a little bit problematic for me as a woman and for other reasons. But also it's like they're making it political is like the thing that I wonder. Because the person who issued the statement is part of Gavin Newsom's, cabinet. And I just, even like the language, right? It's not objective language when they're talking about this. So, I mean, I don't know. I smell.
Well, and how like corporately too, sometimes this is just change of address, right? Like we're not going to actually move employees, but we're changing address so that because if our headquarters is stationed someplace else, then we pay taxes in that state, it's like having Delaware.
We're all incorporated in Delaware.
Yeah.
Well, if you like a couple of things I was going to bring that up, Tim. I think if you think California can't get their hooks for their tax money, any of these people, that's probably like another podcast. I don't know the details either, but Tim, to your point, I was going to say, I don't know that, and I've read this also as kind of a follow-up to this. I don't know that it really has a lot of impact. They're still doing business in California.
Yep.
And if the three of us were on a leadership team, let's say Jessica is the Maverick leader, which is how this would go. You know that, right, Tim? She'd be the Maverick. And she would tell us, hey, guess what, guys? We're out. If we're valuable team members, we're still going to live where we want to live and do the power commute, right? So I don't know that it really has impact on much of anything other than Elon living where he wants to live and building up an operation kind of from that point forward in Texas rather than California, right?
Yeah. Elon took the mantle from Cuban, right? Isn't Mark Cuban was the other Maverick before him that's now he doesn't seem anywhere near the Maverick that Elon is.
No, because he's on TikTok all the time, making TikToks for himself and with his daughter. Just too busy on the TikTok.
A kinder, gentler Maverick.
That's right.
He's a dad hat Maverick at this point is what Mark Cuban is. Hey, one more thing before we leave this. I've got another Elon story coming up that I included in my book, The 9 Faces of HR, available on Amazon,
Ding.
By the way. Ding! But Jessica, what's if you think about Elon, being on the Maverick side of the continuum, if you will, what's the HR guidance for dealing? Let's say you're the HR leader on the leadership team. Any guidance for HR leaders that have leaders like Elon? What would you say?
Probably the biggest thing is that I just don't know, and I think history also tells us with Elon that you can control the Maverick. Like, he is who he is, and he does the things that he does. He makes the decisions that he does, and some of it, there's damage control surely to be done, but I think overly trying to control and teach an old dog new tricks, I don't know. And so I think if you're around his table and you're making the decision to be around his table, there's a part of me that wonders, the job is to manage that and kind of manage the chaos of it, make the most of it, try to figure out how to manage the optics around it. But I think full on trying to change how he operates and who he is, I feel like that's a losing battle. So you have to make a decision on you get it and you're part of that team in chaos, and that's the decision you've made as a part of his leadership team, which is also probably why, if I'm going to guess, why you're not seeing a lot directly from his leadership team about that announcement. They've made that decision to say we know what we've bought into and we're getting paid well to do this job.
Hey, this is Brent Skinner, host of Small Talk Window here at the Work Defined Podcasting Network. Have you ever wanted a short podcast to listen to during a coffee break of your workday? You've come to the right place. My guests dispense with the small talk as quickly as possible and settle into a meaningful conversation around the world of work.
Yeah, I think it's a great point, right, Tim? Because if if you're on that team and you're supporting that leadership team, you know what this is.
Yeah.
And it's really more of a, hey, hire well for that team. Make sure that people are open to dramatic shifts in strategy and approach at a drop of a hat. And then that's what they signed up for, right, Tim?
Yeah, isn't it like Tesla's a startup, right? And when this is a classic kind of startup dilemmas, you have that maverick startup CEO, but we're used to dealing with startups that are much smaller and don't scale as fast. And what happens is there's like this evolution of the CEO that either gets pushed to the side and they bring a real CEO in, and then the CEO just takes the money and goes and starts, and they become serial entrepreneurs kind of thing, right? We're going to go to another startup. They're really good at starting, not necessarily great at maintaining. Or you see this maturity happen, and Bezos is a good example, right? Maverick to start. Someone would still say that he's kind of a maverick, but he's really matured in a lot of ways as a leader and as a CEO. Whereas I think there's probably a lot of stockholders of Tesla stock that would go, for how great Elon is, maybe it's time for him to step aside, be the chairman, but have a real CEO come in and run the operations and not be as disruptive. Like coming and saying, I'm going to sell 10% of our stock. What do you think on Twitter? Right? Like, I mean, come on. Like that's
we're gonna get to that in a second, because that's
sorry.
No, that's good. That's fascinating for me as well. But they're really not a startup anymore. They operate like one in a lot of ways, but I mean, they're a major car manufacturer with a huge market cap. He just hasn't been pushed to the side.
No, but they are that, KD. But like in terms of the length of they've been in business, they're still really a startup in a lot of ways.
Right.
They just happen to scale so much faster than a normal startup would. Wasn't it Bezos that said like, hey, our only job here is to try to keep this place open until we go out of business, kind of thing, right? Like in Amazon. And people look at Amazon and go, oh my gosh, there's no way. But he said like, no, and sometime in the future,
one day we'll be bankrupt.
We'll be bankrupt. This company will be over.
One day we'll be bankrupt. Our job is to make that as far into the future as we possibly can. Yeah. Hey, let me give you one more. And Jessica, you can react to this one. This is one that I put in my book because I just thought it was interesting that he did that. And
is that that's the 9 Faces of HR book?
Ding. Yeah, available on Amazon. Jessica's on the cover, by the way.
It's not me. It's my likeness. I am.
Yeah, it's your likeness. That is correct. That is a piece of art that is based on your likeness for sure. So
with my permission.
I've read, of course, and a signed release and everything. So I read this book, Elon Musk, Tesla, SpaceX, and the Quest for a Fantastic Future. And in that book, Ashley Vance was the author. In that book, Jessica, she wrote of an encounter that Elon's assistant of 12 years, Mary Beth Brown, went to Elon, like after the ramp at Tesla and SpaceX had kind of like ramped up and they were having some success. So assistant of 12 years, Mary Beth Brown, goes to Elon, asks for a raise. Happens thousands, if not tens of thousands of times in corporate America, probably every day. And here's what Elon told her. Just back to the Maverick thing. Elon told her to take 2 weeks off because the plan was that Elon was going to take on her duties, Jessica. And after the 2 weeks, she came back and Elon told her that her services were no longer required and let her go. Now, Elon disputes that, but it's been written about like multiple times. But again, on the Maverick spectrum. So Jessica, can you imagine someone on your team coming to you for a raise and you saying, hey, I've got a better idea. I'm going to give you 2 weeks off with pay, PTO that you didn't expect. I'm going to take on your duties and we'll see. Jessica, react. That's a great story. You have to admit.
Well, it is a great story. And I think what it illustrates that I think is interesting is, he's a little bit petty. And so he's a little bit petty, right? But I don't,
Meow.
little petty, but for him to take on her responsibilities, if he really did for a 2-week period, I actually think that's interesting. Like, you should know what your people do, understand their job, to be able to then make an assessment around, should they have a raise, or maybe they shouldn't have a job. I guess I am surprised though that he didn't say like, oh man, this job is harder than I would have expected. But him managing himself as opposed to her managing him, I'm sure he doesn't get quite the level of appreciation of what it takes to manage him, because he's just managing himself versus her, where she's like, you're crazy. Like, I've been working with you for 10, 12 years and like, this is hard work. So I don't know. Is he able to self-reflect? I'm not sure, but it's a little bit funny if it's truly true that he decided, I'm going to take on her duties for 2 weeks. It's petty. It's petty. I like petty. Petty's good.
Tim, the reaction, other things I read said that he eventually, Jessica, to your point, he eventually broke the job into 2 or 3 different jobs. So he figured out that Mary Beth Brown was actually doing 3 different roles. So Tim, it sounds like maybe what he did was a reorg. And to Jessica's point, it does sound petty. And then you just hire 3 people instead of the 1, because you figure out that time has passed that role by.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go back to like the spectrum thing too of how he thinks logically, because no real leader would say especially to a valued assistant, right, that has been working with you for so long, when you ask for a raise, to say, hey, go on vacation, I'm going to do your job. I think logically he was like, I really need to see what this is and dig into it, and then turned it into 3 jobs. And she was probably like, I didn't want that. But like, that's the risk of what, working with somebody like that, you're going to run into, that thinks a little bit differently than the rest of the world. She was like, hey, this is a pretty static transaction. This happens millions of times a day in corporations all over the world. and he was just
trusted
like,
confidant.
No.
Tim, we were having conversations this week about offers and negotiating. We're going to talk about that coming up in future weeks, right?
Yep.
All right. So I won't get into that a lot, but it does kind of show, like, when you ask for something different, like, people who truly think different may give you something totally different than you expected, right? People who aren't bound by conventions and consider themselves to be a little bit maverick. Obviously, Elon is way out there. I should mention too that I'm an Elon fan. I don't think I'm a fanboy, but I like the innovation. I like the risk. I had sent both of you a note. He made like 170 million. I don't have a quote on this. I didn't look it up before we got on. Made like 170 million when PayPal was sold, and invested a bunch of it in SpaceX. Like, say 100 million in SpaceX, 60 million in Tesla, 10 million in Solar City. And at one point Tesla was like a month away from going bankrupt. So he's put it all on the line, and he's an innovator. I would expect innovators to be different and to do things like say, well, Mary Beth Brown, I've got a deal for you.
By the way, I saw today that Tesla will outsell Mercedes this year. And so really,
of course,
first time that, like, if you think about luxury brand, like Mercedes is kind of known to be the luxury brand that's gettable, right, for most people. If you think luxury brand, and like, worldwide, Mercedes is kind of known as being a great brand, and Tesla will outsell them, which isn't just, to me, is kind of unbelievable. But at the same time, we see, Tesla's value is greater than that of the big 3 combined, which is also crazy.
Insane.
So Jessica was going to come in. Jessica, I'm coming right to you. I will say that I want to end this talk about like aspirational brands. I want to end this segment on Elon by talking about that, because there's stuff going on with like taxes and stuff like that you got to be, I think probably you got to be careful like who you push. And Elon's already shown that with Mary Beth Brown, California. like you have to be careful, like what you ask for in a lot of ways. Jessica, you were coming in when Tim started. What do you have? I'm sorry.
So, I'm finding this funny. So, Elon had a wife, Justine Musk, and there's this question out there on Quora about what happened to Mary Beth Brown. And if this is truly her, and I think it is because she's got the blue check mark next to her name, she tries to explain it from her side of what might have happened to Mary Beth. So
Yes.
get this. So she says, like, I understand Ashley Vance wrote this thing about blah, blah, blah. Here's what happened to Mary Beth. And she was giving her perspective about she's an exceptional, devoted employee. She was really helpful to the family. Her departure was a shock. But so Justine, as the ex-wife of Elon, says, I can actually believe this. So one time she said that she went to go travel and visit her family, and that in her absence, Elon had noted that the home front, like the home life, the house, her role as house manager, that she was incompetent and that the house had run very smoothly in her absence. And she was saying, like, it's not wrong, but it resonated with her, whatever happened with Mary Beth. And she just goes on to say that, like, she's not calling Mary Beth incompetent, that she was amazing, but like, it's not beyond belief that Elon would do that. He would take it upon himself, try to figure out like, what's the problem here? And then like solved it without the root of the problem, and then divorced her and said, I'm going to get a professional house manager and a new wife. So, I mean, the fact that his ex-wife is weighing in, amazing.
Yeah.
She's been through it herself.
Thank you for like doing the research on the research
Going
desk
deep.
Doing it on the fly. Love it.
I love it. No, I love it. And I think that's like the innovators like dilemma when companies get formed, right? And if you're an HR person, you better be ready to go with the flow. Because imagine this, Jessica. Imagine if these two big things are out there. Imagine how much stuff happens on a daily basis. Mm. Can you imagine how much shrapnel is around someone like Elon who has that much autonomy, et cetera, right?
The boogeyman.
I'm a fan. I want to end with this couple things. First of all, and I think Tim mentioned this earlier. So Tim, I'll come to you first on this. From a tax perspective, like what's going on with reconciliation and some of the bills that, the big bill that, is more of a social spending bill, hasn't been passed yet. There's a bunch, it's hard to track, like, honestly, like, what tax proposals have been made. At one point, there was a proposal, none of this is final yet, that said that they were going to make some of the tax revenue to cover some of the spending by taxing unrealized gains on billionaires. And Elon Musk, Tim, as you referenced earlier, went on Twitter. I think this is last weekend or early this week, last weekend. And this is the tweet. Much is made lately of unrealized gains being a means of tax avoidance. So I propose selling 10% of my Tesla stock. Do you support this? And then he went on like did his own reply on this Twitter poll and said, I will abide by the results of this poll. Tim, it came in 3.5 million votes as of like today, as we're looking at this. 57% said yes, sell 10% of your Tesla stock. Comments, Tim?
Well, he sold $5 billion worth and then another almost $1 billion worth as of this morning.
Right.
So I'm not sure exactly that will be 10%, but he definitely sold a big chunk. Now, everyone, that is kind of in the industry is like, hey, he had to do that just because he has a giant tax bill kind of due, but it is what it is from that standpoint. And he has most of his wealth tied up in Tesla stock. So that's just kind of the way of the world from that standpoint. So who knows? But yeah, like I think he's fighting back as a billionaire going, wait a minute, right? Like I'm a founder. I put all my money and my eggs in this basket and created this company. And now you're going to tax me on unrealized gains. That makes no sense. At the same time, like he's a unicorn. So it's kind of hard. It's such an outlier that I think even the government goes, we don't even know what to do with this, Now, for the smaller people that out there that have some stocks or have, a mutual fund or whatever, and they've had a great year in the stock market and they've seen their portfolio go up 10 or 15%, that's going to be a huge hit in the gut for them to say, hey, you're going to pay taxes on unrealized gains. And then next year the market goes down 20%. And so you paid taxes on your unrealized gains, but then now you're going to lose money.
Which would have to be a tax write-off at that point. It can't be just one or the other.
If it's allowed, right? Like you don't know that, like with the new stuff. So that becomes the difficult piece of all of this.
And the whole thing about, and this is another HR topic, right? The whole thing about unrealized like gains, it's, to my knowledge, it's never been done. And I would always be nervous. I can't understand like a billionaire's life, right? But I would always be nervous about the slippery slope of that coming downhill. Can you imagine, for example, like legislation that tried to tax, unrealized gains in 401ks? It would just be insane.
Oh, no,
by the way, yeah, go ahead.
I think it would destroy the market because I think people you're going to take your money out and go, wait a minute, then I need to put my money into like assets, whether that's real estate, gold, like hard assets, right? So that you don't have these unrealized, kind of gains. But I guess you could argue in real estate, right? If the value went up, that's an unrealized gain, right? I'm just not sure that's not what they're looking at though, but.
Oh, I don't even think people would reinvest in those spaces. They would just put the cash under the mattress and
the old mattress.
The old mattress. But what else is he going to put out to Twitter as a poll of what should I do with my life? Like what is next for him? Shall I child, should I have a child? Should I cut my hair? Like what should I have for lunch? It's fascinating. I don't know that I'm making decisions based on the votes of the people.
I think he's just fascinated by the entire the dynamic of it. Like that you can go out there and have millions of people like say something. I think he just thinks that's kind of like, I mean, it's entertainment for him.
Hey, I'll end this with this. World. So I love a good innovator, and I'm super willing to put up with, quirks and things from innovators. Now, the dangerous part of this is from a corporate perspective, like if we have mavericks inside corporations, it kind of comes down to, are you just acting like a maverick, or do we actually get the benefits of you being an innovator, right? That's the trade-off. Because some people just act mavericky, but they don't create EVs out of like thin air. All they do is get aggressive on Outlook. And it's like, that's probably not good enough to justify the behavior. But I'm a fan. So JLee, I want to end this kind of with the aspirational side. We were talking about some of the tax considerations and some of the legislation that's been proposed. And one of the other things that was in there is, by the way, I believe Tesla benefited from a lot of California tax code that gave a lot of rebates, and probably federal tax code rebates for EVs. So in the latest round of legislation, I kind of want to talk about aspirational brands. I think there's a total of I'm doing this off memory. I think there's a total of $12,000 in the proposed legislation of tax credits by buying an EV, but only like 7,500 of those credits are available to Tesla, because the other 4,500 are for like the big three in Detroit, Ford, GM, people like that have union workforces. So what's super interesting about that is, and Elon's already been out there talking about it, but what's super interesting about that to me is that from an aspirational brand perspective, you would actually say to people, you would actually push people not to buy a brand that they really want through unequal tax rebates based on whether there was a union involved in the company. That's fascinating for me. And that's more of a statement than a question, I know, but I'm just fascinated that, well, let me just say it this way. Fair statement, Jessica. You reacted to like Mercedes versus Tesla, which basically what you were reacting to is everybody wants a Tesla, right?
Yeah.
Most people.
Everyone.
Is it true? Everyone wants one,
most
right?
people, it's aspiration. It is aspirational, but I will say I do see a good number of Chevy Volts starting around here and there. And I don't know, there could be an argument for some that like it's time to like level things out a bit. I mean, Tesla has benefited from so many incentives, being first mover, being an aspirational brand, having an amazing product. So I don't want to take that away from them. But in order for some of these other, companies to compete, I mean, is that what we're doing here? Possibly, yes. And I don't really want to see more Chevy Volts out on the road, to be honest. I prefer to see the Teslas. They're much more
Shots
beautiful.
fired.
Shots fired.
I would love a G-Wagon too, by the way. So like, hey, Mercedes,
they're
if you're
not
listening, go
gonna.
ahead.
You want that Hummer EV, which just
Oh, I
is
do.
so.
I do want that.
I know you
Yeah.
do, but
Oh.
I can see where it's coming from. I can see it. By the way, if you buy in this area, it is obnoxious. I go to do pickup, like if I go to pick up my son at his school, half of the parking lot is Teslas. They are everywhere.
Well, let me just say this. I think like I'm moderate on most things, but as soon as you like through tax code and making a connection to a union workforce, and we're all HR people, right? So we've got our own like opinions about that. We've got our own individual opinions. But here's the thing, like what you just mentioned, JLee, across America, if this would go down, people like make calls based on money all the time. And basically what we're saying is once you get down to a certain level of income and household wealth, you would make decisions not on what's the best product or the aspirational brand you want to buy. You would make decisions based on that extra 4K or 4.5K. And that's wacky to me, that we would actually take the aspirational brand and maybe what some people would consider the best product. And by the way, we have friends at Ford and GM, right? Great products coming out of there. But we would actually like say, you can't have the aspirational brand, or you're going to make a decision because you're down market from a comp perspective. And by the way, like everybody with the means, or has saved, whatever, there's a lot of factors there, would still buy the best product. But we would tell some people just through tax code, like you have to go here. Like you can't buy what you really want. You can't join half the people like in that parking lot that have Teslas. You, sir, Chevy Volt looks great for you.
There's a Montessori saying, you get what you get and you don't get upset.
There you go. There you go.
All right, Tim Sackett, closing thoughts on Elon Musk. Let's do this. Would you work for Elon Musk and be his HR leader, Tim Sackett?
Yes.
Jessica Lee?
Yeah. Like I
okay,
totally
sorry. Commentary.
No. Like I think like when you talked about the innovation side, I think that he's a true innovator. He not just because of Tesla or SpaceX. I mean, think about the battery technology, how he's trying to connect batteries to homes, to solar panels, to you can actually sell power back to the grid and make your, make yourself sustainable. Like I just think he thinks completely differently, and not just thinks it, he actually then tries to make it happen and has the money, is willing to put the money behind it. The other thing is, Katie, like you think about all the trouble right now that the auto industry is having with getting chips from Taiwan. You know who's not having trouble? Tesla. Why? Because he had built American factories and is making his own chips, and he's doing everything right here. So like the unions and the Biden administration can slam him with tax code and try to like put him in an uncompetitive situation. And yet he's making it happen right here in America. So I support that.
Jessica, would you work for him?
Well, Tim's already taken the job, so I don't know what's left for me.
You're the
I need a number two.
You're the runner-up, Jessica. We're going to keep you in the ATS. We're going to keep you warm.
I'm the silver medalist.
Do some great content in the talent pool.
I need a number two, Jay.
In the talent community. Thank you.
Jessica won't answer the question. I would work for him. And if I worked for him, I'd like change my Outlook tagline that said Maverick, innovator, thinker. All right. That's it for HR Famous. Ran a little long. It's a good conversation though. If you know a Maverick out there, good for you. If you're working for a Maverick, good for you. They get things done. and they're change agents. So I'm a fan. Until next time, that's HR Famous. She's Jessica Lee. He's Tim Sackett. And of course, I'm Chris Dunn. We'll see you later. We're out.